so, you become gold. And you will be used. How does God test us? He gives us choice. You test honesty with the opportunity of dishonesty. You test holiness with what? With the chance to sin. Not that God tempts us, but God allows choice. You test goodness with evil. Will you go with the evil, or will you stand true to God? That's how you know someone. How do you test something? Adversity. He has things come against, he allows things to come against our faith so that our faith will not crumble but grow stronger. That's the way faith grows. Faith doesn't grow. When everything's going fine, how's faith? Faith doesn't often grow that much because it rests on everything. And faith is beyond everything. So what happens? How do you prove love? You have unlove in your life. And how do you deal with it? How do you respond to that lack of love? How do you prove devotion? You have those things which would make someone stop being faithful to God, but they stay faithful. Adversities come against to see how you will handle it. And not only is it seeing, but while it's happening, you are getting stronger if you choose rightly. Now, who gives the test? In school, there always had to be someone giving the test, even if they didn't come up with a test. There's a very interesting administrator of the test that God uses. He's perfect. Who's in charge, in fact, with testing you. He's in charge of bringing you adversity. Who is it? Satan. The word Satan means the adversary, the one who brings you adversity. Now, you say, wait a minute, God and Satan, God and Satan are totally opposed. But God uses all things for good. That means even Satan. That means he uses evil for good. Not that he wanted evil, but that's the way that's the way it's happened now. So he will work through all things, even work through the enemy to bring you good. That's not bad, that's good news. Because if he can work through the bad to bring you good, what's left? Look at Matthew 4. Open up to Matthew 4. Let me show you the principle. Matthew 4, when Messiah, at the beginning of his ministry, is being taken, before he can minister, notice what happens. Before even Messiah can minister, he must be tested. Matthew 4 and verse 1. Then Yeshua, Jesus, was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil. Now that's a weird thing there. Is led by the Spirit to be tempted by the devil. Interesting. After fasting 40 days, 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Yeshua answered, "It is written, man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Now, the Greek word, now the enemy here is called what? He's called the tempter, to be tempted. He's called the tempter, but the same word, the same Greek word that says the tempter also has another meaning, which is the tester. Same thing. The word tempt, that same Greek word for tempt, also means test. And so the enemy, what the enemy uses to tempt you, God will use to test you. God will never tempt you. And the enemy will never seek to test you. The enemy will always seek to tempt you, but God will use it to test you for a good purpose. Messiah needed to be tempted, to be tested before his ministry, and look what happened. Look who was used. But God uses all evil for good. So in the end, it was only good that it happened. It says in Hebrews 11:17, it says Abraham was tested or tempted. It depends on the translation. The testing of Abraham was a good thing, but it was something that didn't seem good at the time. It says in 2 Corinthians 13:5, you can just make notes of it because we're doing a lot of this and we don't want to. You don't have to go through all of it here. 2 Corinthians 13:5 says, "Examine yourself to see if you are in the faith." Examine yourself. Now the word for examine is the same word that is used of the enemy to tempt. So the very thing that says examine, in other words, we are told to examine ourselves. And what it means is that it's the same word what the enemy tries to go against you, the same word is used. So what it means is that when you're being tested or tempted, you're being examined. This is your examination. And it's seeing where you are and what you have. Now the book of Job comes. Job is celebrated, has great stuff going on. He's got riches, he's got abundance, he's got everything. People are having a party, and all this, and the enemy comes to God and says, yeah, Job, yeah, he's praising you, but he's only praising you because you blessed him. You take away the blessings, you take away this, and he's going to curse you. And the Lord says, well, put it to the test. So the enemy removes. But God is sovereign over it. And all sorts of things go away, and what happens to Job? It was not for bad, it was for good in the end. It is good. What the enemy meant for evil, God will use for your blessing. It says in 1 Peter 5:8, your adversary, the devil, probes around like a roaring lion looking for someone he can destroy. Now one of the words, your adversary, he's against you. In Hebrew, the word Satan, which we get the word Satan from, it's really Hasatan, which means the enemy, means the accuser, means the one who opposes you, the one who attacks you, the one who resists you. But God promises for his child, he will use all those things, even those things, to end up making you strong and blessing your life. In Revelation 2:10, the Lord says to this church, he says, listen,